The Libertarian Party has somehow managed to blow itself up. We like the Libertarian Party, ladies and gentlemen. We like the idea of ending the wars. We like Ron Paul. We like the Mises Caucus. We love the message. We want more people to hear this message. It is the correct message. And the LP went and nominated the far leftist who is pro-vaccine mandate and child gender, I'll keep it light, surgeries. Well, actually, to be fair, I think he's opposed to surgeries, but he's for the medication, which is very damaging. And we'll get into that. Now, a bunch of libertarians are outright saying, we're out. In fact, 2 states have already rejected Chase Oliver, the LP nominee, as their presidential nominee and are refusing to put him on the ballot. Thus, this is the cascade failure. And I have to wonder, could this be sabotage? Or could it be, I guess, good fortune for Trump supporters? Because the Mises Caucus guys, the majority of the Libertarian Party, are likely now going to be voting for Donald Trump. For all of the reasons they don't like the guy. Now, my friends, I'll make it a little personal. We've hosted many libertarians on Timcast IRL and even a few on the Culture War. And we're going to be hosting more. Because we like the Libertarian Party. We like the anti-war message. We want to end the Federal Reserve. That is a corrupt machine that manipulates the buying power and facilitates, let's just call it monetary manipulation to the detriment of the average person. And the Libertarian Party, these are loud messages for them. But they became a joke when they decided to nominate a guy who's pro-vaccine mandate. And then they think you are all stupid and come out, he's not for mandates because he thinks the government shouldn't mandate. What about private corporations? What about all of the massive multinational corporations working in lockstep to mandate employees get forced medication? That's fine by them. They don't care about the voters. But the big news here, and there is a little personal because they're coming after me. They're mad. But the big news is to hear that 2 states, Colorado and Montana, are refusing to put the nominee on the ballot is tremendous. Donald Trump showed up to the Libertarian Party convention, and it was amazing. He said, you can keep being losers, 3%, or you can vote for you, nominate me. And it was hilarious. Man, I can't believe... You know, the Libertarians, with no sense of humor, you guys are the problem, okay? Dave Smith, that's why he's the man. Because he's a comedian, and he gets it, and it's relatable, and he knows how to make it funny and fun, and I wish he was the nominee. I wish he was. But I suppose, in the grand scheme of things, we are the individuals who are saying, stop making me defend Donald Trump. Me, I'll look on the bright side. I look at how bad things have gotten, and I'm like, I'll take it. I'll take a Donald Trump presidency, hands down. He's the best president of my lifetime, no question. I've seen so much garbage. And then Trump comes along and, you know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like every little thing Trump has ever done is good or pretend like he hasn't done bad things. There's been many bad things. But as I argued to Dave Smith, probably one of the most prominent libertarians, Trump gave us a net positive. Withdrawing our troops from the Middle East. Dave doesn't like the Abraham Accords, but I think he's wrong on this one. Agree to disagree. Donald Trump crossed the demilitarized zone into North Korea with no security detail. That inspires me tremendously. And I am glad that Donald Trump feels a warm, fuzzy feeling when people like me and you praise him to no end for doing that. This is the world that I live in. A president showed up to the border between 2 warring nations, an ally of ours where our troops are stationed, and an enemy nation we are at war with. And he walked up to the leader who invited him into his country with no security, and Trump said, let's do it. I don't think people understand how tremendous that is. When I saw Donald Trump cross the I'm pulling this up. Trump enters North Korea. The story they told, Trump becomes first sitting president. I nearly cried. I was welling up when I saw this story. They got a YouTube clip. Here we go. Here's the clip.
At one of the most militarized borders on Earth, An historic handshake.
Good to see you again. I've never expected to meet you at this place.
A US president, a North Korean leader, and an extraordinary invitation.
President Trump crosses into the DMZ, meets Kim Jong-un.
And
he
Donald
goes.
Trump didn't disappoint.
Everyone
Not
needs to
just
know this happened.
but positively striding into history books, the first sitting American president to meet a leader in the North.
Wow. Who's Trump surrounded by right now? He's surrounded by North Koreans.
The handshake
Shaking
on the other
his hand on
side,
the street.
Political capital for Chairman Kim, ensuring both men had a win to show their people as they boldly recrossed the border.
I believe, just looking at this action, this is an expression of his willingness to eliminate all the unfortunate paths.
And look at the smile on Trump's face. And you may say Trump's got an ego. Trump is he's an egotist. He's only doing it because, you know, it makes him feel good. He's so important. Okay, I'll take it. Trump loves it when the people scream and cheer for his name because he did something like that. So I'll tell you this. Where am I? I like the Libertarian Party. I like Ron Paul. I like freedom. I like small government. I'm a traditional or social liberal leaning on the libertarian spectrum, meaning there's a lot of issues that are very difficult that, you know, we like abortion being one of them. Where is the government's right, or where is their limit on the authority to mandate, or restrict, or even not? To the Mises Caucus Libertarians, Josh Smith, for instance, he says it is the duty of the government to protect life first and foremost. And that includes babies. We will never accept. Right. I say, okay, right. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Me, I lean a little bit more left on some of these issues. I do. But Chase Oliver is pro-vaccine mandate. I think that's wrong. I have no problem with the government saying you can't do certain things for large power structures. That is, when social media like Twitter or Facebook suppress the speech of individuals, including politicians. Laura Loomer was running for office and she was shut out of one of the largest communication platforms. I believe it's fine for us as a collective to say, you can't do that. But there's moral questions as well as principle questions. And I think morality matters. The position of Chase Oliver, private businesses should be allowed to mandate anyone be forced to be medicated. The problem, most of the mandates that we're upset about were private. That's what he supports. He is a machine state low libertarian. Now, we invited Chase Oliver several weeks ago to appear in the Culture War and debate some of the other members of the LP who are upset at his nomination. He would then be able to defend his positions. And at first, they never got back to us. And then at the 11th hour, apparently they emailed someone saying, not interested. Well, none of our team had received any of the message. It's been weeks. They said he's not getting back to us. I said, I'm going to tweet about it because this is laughable. OK, the idea that we would be willing to platform such an unknown like this guy, or that I'm even talking about him now, shows that we deeply care about the potential for a third party to rise in this country and the message that libertarians can bring. And they said no. And now we get some of the best. I'm going to shout this guy out. Well, first, here's the Montana Libertarian Party. The Montana Libertarian Party has officially rejected Chase Oliver as our presidential candidate. We have maintained that we will always prioritize Montana first, and we do not believe his campaign advances our goals in this state. Similarly situated states should follow our lead, and we call upon the LNC to consider suspending and replacing him. We have this from AMP America. Libertarian Party of Colorado refuses to put presidential candidate on the ballot. Wow. The LP is imploding. This is going to destroy all the hard work done by the third party because they chose to nominate this guy who is terrified. Terrified. Here's where they're currently at. I love this one. So Pennsylvania Mises Caucus says, at the same time, Chase is ignoring one of the biggest alternative media networks. He's begging to be heard in a debate. You'd think he'd take any appearance that had more than the four people who showed up to his campaign kickoff on Wednesday evening. They said that why would they go on an irrelevant podcast? An irrelevant podcast. We'll break this down for you. This guy, David Moskrit, he's Region 8 rep for LP Florida. Relatively unknown. I don't mean that disrespectfully. There's a couple hundred followers. He says, no one outside of the party knows who that Timcast guy is. Even many within the Libertarian Party have never seen a single episode. It is not worth the time for a campaign to spend. Well, that's interesting. I didn't realize we were so popular in the Libertarian Party. I didn't realize our entire audience was quite literally only the LP. Okay, so here's the thing. No one outside of the party knows who that guy is. Okay, you see what he's saying there? He's saying that Timcast, as a network, is only well-known in the Libertarian Party. Wow! I didn't realize we were so popular in the LP. And then he goes on to say, no one inside the party knows who that guy is. Someone responded, it's one of the largest podcasts on the internet. It isn't Libertarian or LP related at all. Not sure, blah, blah, blah. He says the MAGA folks have proven unreasonable and they are already committed to their dear leader. It literally serves no purpose for any other candidate to appear on the show. Just a fact of how campaigns work. Chase has no problem going into hostile environments. It just should be beneficial. Besides, as a low-class podcast host, you don't exactly get to throw a toddler fit and constantly insult the candidate, then throw a toddler fit and cry that the same candidate doesn't come on your show. Maybe, just maybe, if he took off his little beanie and made his show more geared toward adults, then it could be beneficial. This is why the Libertarian Party is a joke. Now most of you, I get it. You are fans of the work that I do. That's why you're watching. Some of you probably hate watch, but sure, I'll take it. Ad revenue is ad revenue, right? Many of you are actually members over at timcast.com, but the overwhelming majority of you are not. So if you like the work we do, you should become a member at timcast.com. But this is the Libertarian Party in a nutshell. They are whiny, irrational babies. They don't understand voters. They don't understand core issues. They don't care for what the voters actually want. And that's why they're imploding. But maybe let's have fun with it. It's a conspiracy to destroy the only organizing force outside of the two-party system. How sad is this? Well, first, which is it? Are we a MAGA podcast or are we only known to the Libertarian Party? Which one? Clearly, they don't have an answer. But I'll break it down for you. Let me tell you how the numbers work. Timcast IRL averages the highest nightly live viewership on YouTube. I would say, I don't know, 80% of the time, 90%, we have the most viewers for any live stream on YouTube. It's kind of crazy. We are the top super chatted program outside of VTubers. I don't know if that's still true, but we held that position for several years. I don't really track those metrics. They're not super important to me, but that was true. I was surprised. In the world, we were like number 11 or 13 or something. And then the only other shows that beat us on average were VTubers, meaning like anime waifus who are playing video games or something. Periodically, there will be a show that beats us, for sure. There will be a special live event. Crowder will do a special live, and he'll get way more viewers than us. I'm not saying we're the biggest podcast in the world. I'm saying we average the most live audience. Per episode, Timcast IRL gets 3.5 million unique viewers. These are metrics we actually have to track across all platforms because we sell ads to sponsors. That's important, right? On YouTube, I think we do around like 500K. We have the live audience, which is around 150. And then you get your, it's called VOD, video on demand, is about 300 to 400. It really depends. Like last night was bigger. We had Matt Gaetz. It depends on the hosts. So it's a big show. To act like nobody knows who you are. This is why the Libertarian fails and deserves to fail. Because this is the attitude they take. He says, maybe if we were adults. All right. We criticize Donald Trump regularly. Luke Rudkowski and Ian are accused of having Trump derangement syndrome. And Donald Trump, with a smile on his face, said, I will do the Timcast podcast. We were supposed to get a half hour. We got 17 minutes. I'll take it. But we are in discussion about doing a longer form show with them when the time is right. We're not the biggest podcast in the world. We're not as big as Logan Paul, but enough that it matters to the president and his supporters. We host Libertarians as well. We would host more Democrats. They don't want to come on the show. Marianne Williamson did. Now, the show in question, in fact, is not Timcast IRL. It's the Culture War podcast on Tenet Media. It's an irrelevant podcast. Okay, this one gets like 300,000 unique viewers. It's a Friday morning debate show where he would be able to come on 300,000. Chase went on Austin Peterson's show. With all due respect, I'm not trying to be a dick, but our network is larger than that. They're making excuses for one simple reason. The Libertarian Party nominated a guy who is deeply unpopular, whose ideas are despised by even the Libertarian Party, and Americans overwhelmingly reject. They are crackpot ideas that unfortunately will not fly. And so Chase Oliver talks to his campaign and they say, if you go on Tim Pool's show, you will be eviscerated politically. That's the reality. They nominated a guy who can't stand up to scrutiny. Dave Smith comes on the show and we argue and we debate. Think about that. How many times have we had Dave Smith on and he goes, Tim, we talked about this. You're wrong. The Abraham Accords said it. And I'm like, okay, well, I disagree. It's awesome. Dave's amazing. He's funny. He's smart. He's tall. That's good for a presidential candidate. It really is since the advent of cameras. Chase Oliver's team says we can't do it. We can't handle the heat. Y'all are not ready for prime time. I'm sorry. But you know what? Part of me says I'll take it. I don't come from a world where I think Republicans should win and they're the greatest party ever. I actually despise the Republicans. But I tell you what, I remember my mom called me several years ago and she was like, how come all your videos are complaining about Democrats? And I was like, because the Democrats suck. She's like, yeah, well, what about Republicans? And I was like, I don't know. What are Republicans doing? I'll tell you what they're doing, sitting on their hands. There's not a whole lot to complain about when they do nothing. But we make fun of them too. Strongly worded letters. They're the Washington Generals, the Democrats' Harlem Globetrotters. The Democrats are in unison. They vote for Pelosi. They stand side by side. They support war. They support the entire Democrat agenda. You got what's his name? I mean, I'm forgetting the guy's name. Bowman, who pulled off the emergency on a door, pulled the fire alarm and ran off. And they're like, that's totally fine. Ilhan Omar makes anti-Semitic statements. I'm doing air quotes because it was like she was, I call it crop dusting anti-Semitism. And the whole party says, we're not going to condemn her or censure her. Marjorie Taylor Greene has a Facebook post from before she got elected. And they're like, we're ripping her from her committees. The Democratic Party walks around with sledgehammers. And the Republicans go, slow down there, Democrats. The Republicans are tepid and weak. But I like Ron Paul. I like Rand Paul. I like Thomas Massie. Matt Gaetz, I think, is the best. He's a fighter. He's funded by the people. And we disagree on things, for sure. But I'm not a big fan of the Republican Party. I wish the Libertarian Party made sense. I really, really do. The Mises Caucus, man, they were hitting it out of the park. Now, some people blame Dave Smith. They say that he should have stepped up to the plate. That's tough. It really is. You know, a lot of people are mad at Dave. But I get it, man. I mean, it's tough. I wish I would have preferred that Dave Smith decide to run. But let's think about that logically. Who am I to say Dave Smith should have set aside his career, his life, his safety to run for a position in the Libertarian Party to be president, knowing you're not going to win? You'd have a positive impact, but taking tremendous risk and causing damage to your personal life. I wish he did run, but of course I do. I'm not going to run. Now, to be fair, I would never get nominated by the Libertarian Party. I disagree with libertarians to such an extreme degree. But Dave's right there. I wouldn't do it. Now, I suppose it's fair to say we've got 40 employees. If I were to run for office, it would basically shut the company down because the principal funding of this company is me hosting a variety of shows. We do have other shows. The other shows do make money. But I'll just we invest more into them. We could certainly run the other shows, Pop Culture Crisis, Tales from the Inverted World, Gamer Maids. I'll pause when I say it. And we could host those shows, much more cost efficiently, and they'd probably be in the black. But we want the shows to be good, so we put a little bit more into them, and then we'll push them to where they need to be. We're working on the boonies, securing sponsorship for our new skate show, already in place, incredible, and we're really excited about expansion. If I were to leave to go and run for office, again, to be fair, it would probably be very disruptive to the company. That being said, the Libertarian Party had nobody. The Mises Caucus did a tremendous job of bringing Ron Paul's ideas to the forefront, but instead, They chose the guy who's in favor of we'll just call it child sex changes. The guy who's in favor of corporations mandating you get vaccinated. That was the majority of vaccine mandates. I'll stress this. There were venues across this country that required people to get vaccines to play there. They weren't forced to do that by the state. They chose to do it. Do you want to live in a country where every business, because of social pressure, decides you have to get a medical treatment they've decided? No. We need to say, hey, there's rules here. That's why I'm not a big L libertarian that's like, corporations can do whatever they want. And then they say, those were monopolies, Tim. The government made them. No. The small local venue owned by one guy that decided to do this, it was political social pressure. Now, if you put in place, you cannot discriminate on the basis of medical treatment, then that's why I'm not a libertarian, because I don't think their ideas work. But that's fine. I'll put it this way. I wanted to see the Libertarian Party succeed. Instead, I'll tell you what we get. What we get is the Mises Caucus rushing to Donald Trump, the true winner of the Libertarian Party convention. Chase Oliver's nomination was probably the best thing Trump supporters could have wished for. And all of these libertarians have come out now saying Trump won. Because the Mises Caucus is voting for Donald Trump. They're not going to vote for Chase Oliver, a man who can't even defend his own ideas. He couldn't do it. I'll tell you this. They say that I'm too hostile. I'm too hostile to these people. They can't handle it. That's the reality. I will tell you this 100%. They will not come and sit down with me here because their ideas cannot stand up to scrutiny. Shout out to David Pakman. David Pakman has agreed to come on one-on-one and have this conversation. And I say absolutely. And it's really simple for me, right? They say, but what if you're wrong, Tim? Then I'm wrong. That's it. David Pakman can come here and say, I think X. And I'll say, well, that's an opinion. What am I going to say? Your opinion's your opinion. We're trying to figure out what systems make the most sense. If he says something that's incorrect, I'll be like, I'll just Google it right now. And then we'll say what the combined sources believe. I use a NewsGuard. Mainstream media. Yeah. I got a question for David Pakman. Politico reported that Ukraine interfered in the 2016 election to help Hillary Clinton. That's been reported by Politico. It's been backed up by other outlets. They've never retracted it. I have no problem saying it. There's a story. What do you think? If he wants to come out and say, I think this should be the way it is, I'll say, okay. If he says, why do you think tax policy should be this way? I'll tell him this is why. I have no problem having a conversation on my ideas with literally anybody. But most of the people on the left, people who support child sex changes, for instance, they know it makes no sense. They know it doesn't work. They know it's wrong. And they refuse to be confronted on it. So there you have it. So long, Libertarian Party. This could be the end. If they're not putting the candidate on their ballots, they may lose ballot access. They're going to have to put someone else on. Figure it out. Best of luck. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at, I guess we'll just put this one up at 1. I don't know. The next segment is coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.